How's it going, everyone? This is Mike. Welcome back to another episode of Genre Files. And this week, the genre that James and Ian have chosen is film noir, which is ironic because a couple of days ago, I got 3 film noir DVDs in the mail from Twilight Video. And I watched them all the same day, sort of a mini marathon going on here. And I'll show you what they are. The first one, from 1937, directed by Fritz Lang. This is You Only Live Once. You Only Live Once, starring Henry Fonda and Sylvia Sidney. Fantastic movie that I had never seen. I was just really blown away by it. Highly recommended. Also, let's see, going up to the year 1956, we have this little crime drama called The Killer is Loose, starring Joseph Cotten, Rhonda Fleming, and Wendell Corey. Very, very good film. And finally, from 1957, another film I'd never heard of, Barbara Stanwyck, Sterling Hayden, Raymond Burr in Crime of Passion. Very, very good movie with great performances by 3 stalwarts of film noir filmmaking. Stanwyck, who had already been in Double Indemnity and Sorry Wrong Number, and a few others that are categorized as noir. Sterling Hayden from The Asphalt Jungle and The Killing. Great actor. Raymond Burr has played all kinds of heavy, dramatic roles before he became Perry Mason in 1957, the same year that this came out. So enjoyed all 3 of those very much. But the film I'd like to talk about specifically is one I consider to be the quintessential film noir, that for anybody who is trying to learn about film noir, and I'm sending this out to James because he's trying to get a grasp on what film noir is. I'm not the one to tell him because I am still learning about this genre. I mean, there's so much I don't know. I've done a certain amount of reading about it and watched a lot of films that are in that classification, but I am not in any way, shape, or form a scholarly expert on film noir. But the film I'm going to talk about is Detour from 1945, directed by Edgar G. Ulmer, starring Tom Neal and Ann Savage. Great film in every respect. Low budget, made for probably about $100,000, which even in 1945 was a very low budget. Made at Producers Releasing Corporation, usually known as PRC, one of the Poverty Row studios. Edgar Ulmer was, he was an expert at making good films with low budgets. And he is also known for making the classic horror film The Black Cat back in 1934 with Bela Lugosi and Boris Karloff. Beautifully strange, expressionistic film that horror fans celebrate to this day. Detour is, everything is here. Everything is here in 68 minutes that you would need to get sort of an idea of what film noir is supposed to be about. Tom Neal plays a character named Al Roberts. He starts out the movie sitting in a diner, somewhere in probably California or Arizona, I don't know, and he's just reminiscing about his past and decisions he made that led him to this point, and his story comes to us through flashbacks, and we find out where the detour came in his life, and just making one bad decision after another. One bad decision was made out of stark fear, and the other bad decision was made out of passion. So, a fascinating film. He meets this woman when he's on the road. I don't want to give too many details away. I'm sure there are a lot of you who still have not seen this, so I don't want to spoil any of the surprises. But he meets this incredibly complex woman played by actress Ann Savage, and she is probably the ultimate femme fatale, even though the attraction between these two has nothing to do with sexual obsession. It's just about power, and in this case the woman has the power over a man. Very well made, extremely well acted by two actors who were known mainly for making low-budget B films throughout the 1940s, and I just can't recommend it highly enough. It has great music. Obviously, Edgar G. Ulmer didn't have a lot of resources to work with. The film was made probably in about, well, the facts differ. A lot of people say it was made in a week or 2 weeks. Ann Savage said it was made in 4 6-day weeks. So I would probably go with what she said. Now, Ann Savage actually lived to the age of 87. She died in 2008. And even though her film career and her television career had ended in the 1950s, and she went on to do a variety of things after that in private life. She eventually came back into prominence when Detour was beginning to be celebrated in the late 70s and certainly into the 1980s, and she came forward as the last living person who had been in that film to gain some accolades from fans and critics and to give a lot of interviews. And she eventually made a couple of films, one of which was in 2007. She made this bizarre film called My Winnipeg, directed by a Canadian named Guy Madden, in which she played his mother in a film that I can't possibly explain to you, but you just have to see it. And she passed away the following year at the age of 87. So she was a living treasure for a long time for fans of not only Detour, about film noir itself. Now, my knowledge of film noir is very limited, and I admit that I am still in the process of learning so much. I've done a certain amount of reading about the genre, but not nearly enough. And most of my information comes from this wonderful book that I've talked about and shown quite a few times. And Bob Harrison, this is the book I was talking about. So this is what the cover looks like if you want to look for this online. This is Film Noir, an encyclopedic reference to the American style, edited by Elaine Silver and Elizabeth Ward. And it has a lot of essays, but it also has many lists about film noirs from the year that they were considered to, well, how do I put this? Films that were eventually considered to be made in the noir style. And of course, this is all looking back, beginning with the French film critics in the late 1940s who had not been able to see American films during the time of World War II. And when they all began to be available after 1945, 1946, they began to see certain elements of style and themes and character development, and they gave it the title of film noir. And so that a lot of critics and a lot of film students began to look back even farther, and they would see these certain elements were beginning to be shown all the way back into the 1920s, and that it really picked up in the 1940s and the early 1950s, films that were made with this particular style. Sometimes it was a photographic style, the way they used light and shadows and to demonstrate the ambiguity of characters and the confusion of characters and all that sort of thing. And I'm babbling like a fool here and probably not making any sense. But as I said, I get a lot of my information just by reading film reviews. They have hundreds in here. And there are so many more films listed as noir that I have not seen than I have seen. So it's an interesting way to, dedicate your time learning about this particular genre, and it would take a lifetime of study and a lifetime of watching films. And I'm just beginning. I've seen a lot of great things, and I want to see as many as I can. It's true that there's sort of a disagreement about what films are in that classification and what are not. I mean, almost everybody would agree that Detour is a film noir, but there are other films that are listed in other books, not included in this one, that people classify as film noir. So it's kind of an ambiguous definition, I guess. So anyway, so why am I continuing to talk when I obviously have nothing important to say? Please watch Ian's video. I've seen it posted yet. I haven't had a chance to watch it. He does The Killers from 1946, which is a terrific film. That's one that I have seen only once. Just saw it fairly recently, and I liked it very, very much. And I've also seen the remake that was in 1964, which had some good things about it, but it's nothing like the original. Haven't seen James's video yet. And anybody else who'd like to join in, talk about film noir. And once again, highest recommendation for Detour, 1945. Absolute classic. I am done.